أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. We want to welcome our friends in South Africa, the United States, and around the world to this week's edition of A Conversation with El-Hajj Mauri Saalakhan. I am pleased to be your host, coming to you once again through the Salam Media platform out of Johannesburg, South Africa. Salam Media is an online portal for humanitarian journalism. We don't just report the news, we advise you on what you can do about it. We're coming to you today from Tampa, Florida, where I'm visiting with a good friend. To our Muslim brethren around the world, Ramadan Mubarak. Today, now just beyond the midway point of this blessed month, we have another important abbreviated broadcast on the following topic: what to do and what not to do when stopped by the police. Many people throughout the U.S. and in different parts of the world are well aware of the fact that America has a police problem. Today's subject was prompted by a very unfortunate and potentially dangerous encounter that a young black male in the Washington, D.C. area had with police in Prince George's County, Maryland, just a few days ago. We begin with a relevant piece of video from that encounter. Okay. Our guests today for this broadcast are Umar Ali. Umar, who was the subject of that video, that the targeted subject of that video, is a young athlete, and a businessman. And we're going to let him tell you his story, what happened that night, and why. And then we're gonna have Ron Hampton from the National Black Police Association. We're gonna bring him on just a little later to share some perspective from the vantage point of someone who is a retired police officer, 25 years he put into the force, and he also has served as executive director of the National Black Police Association. In fact, the brochure that we depicted in the promo for this conversation is actually a brochure that was produced many years ago by his organization. Let's begin with our brother Umar Ali. Brother Umar, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly, Aki. We'd like to begin with you sharing some firsthand encounter perspective on what took place that night. Begin from the beginning. Walk us through what happened.
Basically, it was probably around midnight. I was just getting off of work. I do security, like I'm an armed security guard, in Virginia. And I was just getting off of work and long story short, they had like a checkpoint set up, and the checkpoint, I'm thinking like, all right, I have no reason to be hesitant to pass through the checkpoint. I'm not scared to go through the checkpoint because it's like I don't have anything illegal on me. Yes, I am carrying my gun, but I am in all right, what I'm saying, to carry my gun. And so, I'm pulling up to the checkpoint. And mind you, it's a car that looked exactly like mine. I drive a SRT, what I'm saying, one of the little flashy cars, muscle cars. But it's a car that looks just like mine that passes in front of me. And the cops let him go, just very simple, and basically when I pulled up to the car, I basically got there and he was like license and registration. After I gave him my license and registration, he went back to the car, went back to his car, and me, I'm thinking like, this is just a regular process. He gonna give me my stuff back, and I'm just about to be on my way, And he comes back to the car, and he's like, are there any weapons in the car? Mind you, I don't feel no reason to lie. You know what I'm saying? I'm not hiding nothing. I don't have nothing to hide. So I just tell the truth. Yes, I told him. I said yes. There is a registered handgun in the car. But as soon as I said that, like the energy of the like just the atmosphere was just different. Like the everything was just changed. Like you could feel it. And I got a little scared because it was just like I don't know what was gonna happen. Especially in situations like that, it's always something. What I'm saying, just that goes wrong. And so basically, um, long story short,
Still there?
I thought I don't know why, but I got bad connection. But
Okay.
basically, after he what I'm saying, after I told him that I had a what I'm saying, a permitted handgun on me, he continued to act like I was a threat or hostile. And he was like, "Put your hands up." Once I put my hands up in the air, I put my hands onto the steering wheel. He said, "Put your hands on the steering wheel." After I did that, I looked to my right, like to the right of the car, like the passenger side, and one of the cops already had his gun pointed at me. And it's
Mhm.
more like
Okay. Your connection
you know
has
what I'm saying,
faded out again, brother. You said one of the cops pointed his gun at you, and
can you guys hear me? It's audio.
okay, we've got a problem with your connection. Okay, brother Sadiq, let's bring brother Ron Hampton on to the broadcast. Greetings of peace, my brother.
Good
Did
to see
you?
you, my brother. Good to see you. How you doing?
It's good to see you as well, brother. It's good to be able to reconnect with you. Uh, did you watch the video that we showed at the beginning? You saw the video.
Yes, sir, I
Now,
did.
the short of it is what the brother was getting to is the fact that he is a young black male, licensed to carry.
Mhm.
He's licensed to carry, and he made that very clear in the video. I have a license to have that gun, and as he was pointed out just before he got the connection weakened. He said that one of the officers was already pointing his gun at him, and he shared some other things with me that hopefully we'll be able to have him touch on firsthand. When he's reconnected with us. But for now, what do you get from what you've already heard from the young brother, and also what you saw in the video? What is your perspective on?
Well, what happens there, and what happens 9 out of 10 times is that if the individual is black and he or she says that they have a gun, then they're going to be treated as if they're a criminal. They're going to be treated as if they are a threat, and we've seen that in I mean, I don't know, it's so many cases that has been the case. The gentleman that was in the car in the Midwest someplace, and he was in there with his girlfriend and the baby.
Yes,
he had a license to carry, and not only did they treat him like he was a threat, they shot and killed him. Right. And he had a permit to carry the gun. And this brother experienced the same thing. There was no reason once they found out, which he was forthcoming with the information, that he had a permit to carry. He was coming from work. He didn't make any threatening moves or anything like that. Then it's not unusual for them to have officers on the scene. And when they said he had a weapon, it's not unusual for them to pull this weapon. But once they found out that he had a permit to carry it, he didn't have a record because they ran him through. They did everything that they were supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And there was no information for them to suspect or feel like for some reason or another that he was a threat to them. Then there was no reason to treat him like that, other than the color of his skin. If he had been white, let me say this again, if he had been white, they would have sent him on his way and wouldn't have put him through all of the trouble that they did. There are too many times that happened. We saw it during the situation in Milwaukee with the boy with the rifle, and the police assisted him.
That's right.
In terms of what he wanted to do, it happens all the time. But the research will show, as well as the statistic, that more and more blacks, and particularly women, are not only purchasing weapons, they have permits to have those weapons, either on their body or in their home. But you have to beware that if you're a black person with a gun, you're going to get treated different. And it just happens because that's when the stereotyping kicks in and takes place, and they're going to treat you as though you're a criminal. And there's so many instances that happens, and it's a threat. You were talking about the brochure that we designed. Believe it or not, my brother, we designed this brochure in 1974.
Wow.
It is still relevant today. Wow. And in some ways, it's more relevant today because we have more and more blacks who are taking advantage of the Second Amendment. And that's fine. If you want to have a gun and if you want to have it legally, then go ahead and do it. But you must understand that it puts you in a different category as it relates to your encounters with the police.
Mm-hmm. Could you walk us through some of the some of those pieces of advice that mm-hmm. you all gave mm-hmm. in that brochure, especially to young black males? It wasn't exclusively to young black males, but especially to young black males and or any black male that right. was that gets stopped by the police with or without a weapon, a licensed weapon.
Yeah, it's like what you said earlier. It's good information for anybody.
Right.
We took 3 situations and gave good information, tips on what to do. If you're driving is a privilege. So there are certain things that the police officer can ask you for. Your driving permit and the the registration for your car. And if you happen to live in a place where insurance is required, then you have to show them your insurance card because your insurance has to be accurate. The other one is if you're walking. If you're walking, a police can legitimately stop you, but he or she has to have a reason to stop you. If there was a robbery or some kind of assault in the street, and you fit the description of the individual, and you should ask, you should ask, why are you stopping me? It's just like you can ask that question if you're in a car, because the officers can use a traffic stop, or if there's your backup lights are out, they can use that as a reason to stop you, to ask you questions about what it is that you're doing, say in a particular area. But it just can't randomly stop you and then do that. There's a case that went before the Supreme Court, U.S. versus Wynn, and it talks about police officers using this traffic stop as a pretextual stop to look for other things. That's why in that film, they was going through his car once they took him away. Now, they didn't find nothing in the car, and that should have even been more of a reason why they should have let him go, because he didn't have any contraband, he didn't have any drugs or nothing like that in the car. So back to the walking, if they stop you, you can ask them why you stopped. They can say, for example, there was a robbery that took place 2 blocks away, and you fit the description. It could be clothes, you could be the height and weight of the person, suspected weight of the person, and if you didn't do it, like this gentleman, you don't have anything to worry about. But there are times when they use that to search you. Now, can they stop and search you? No, they can pat you down. There's a difference between a pat down and a search. A search is when they go in your pockets. You may have a bag. They may want to go in your bag, your backpack, but that's a search. A pat down is to pat down on the outside of your pockets or jacket pocket to see if you have a weapon. That's a safety pat down. Not going in your pockets. Now, search is a search. Mm-hmm. And then the other category or the other situation that we raise in here is if the police come to your door and they knock on your door and they want to come into your house. Well, you don't have to let them in your house. And if they want to come in and say they want to search, then you should ask for a copy of the search warrant. And the search warrant has to be area specific. It can't just say we're going to search your whole house. If they're looking for, say they're looking for a gun, there are places in the house where a gun might be, and they need to articulate that in the search warrant, but they can't say that they're going to search the whole house. It has to be area and subject specific if they're going to do it. And you don't have to let them in there if they don't produce the warrant, because you're entitled to a copy of the warrant. So all of those areas, there are reasons that supposedly protect the individual, but the police officer will sometimes, and most of the time when we're talking about black folk, they would run the risk of being violated as a result of the stop or the search or whatever have you. There have been a multitude of cases where they have pulled people over on the highway. Like this brother got stopped at a traffic stop. And if they don't have any reason to search your car, they can't make up a reason to search your car. Now, can you stop them from searching your car? No. And all lawyers I know will tell you not to do that, but they will tell you a couple of things: that you mentally document the individual in terms of having. It's nothing wrong with pulling out a piece of paper and a pencil and writing it down, the officer's name, his scout car, that kind of information, because you want to be able to document the situation as it happens and what it is that they're saying at the time. They will. A friend of mine who's now a federal judge, Robert Wilkins, they stopped him. He was coming back home from Chicago. He was on 270. He was driving a rented Cadillac that he was going back to Chicago because someone in his family had died. His mother and somebody was with him. They got stopped coming back because they was driving this Cadillac. Mm-hmm. they didn't find anything in the car, and Robert was clear to them that he was an officer of the court, and he knew that they did not have probable cause to do what they did. They brought in a drug dog and walked the dog around the car, and the officers claimed, and these were Maryland State Police. The officers claimed that the dog gave them an indication that there was drugs in the car. And I had to laugh because that is absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And the dog didn't get in the car, but he walked around the car, sniffed the car, and gave them an indication that drugs in the car. They took all of the stuff out of the car, trunk, inside, and all that. They were lucky enough that they were up under a bridge. So, and it was raining that evening when this went on. They did not find anything in the car, but the dog gave them an indication that there was drugs in the car. Being this Harvard-trained lawyer that Robert was, he sued them, and the ACLU took up his case, and it created a situation in the Maryland State Police that they, from that point on, had to document and fill out these forms about stop and frisk and all of the stuff, all of the details and things. And what the information proved, even in light of the lawsuit and the case that was ongoing, is that they were still doing violating people's rights and doing some of the very things that Robert had alleged or had said took place in the lawsuit in the stop on 270, and caused the Maryland State Police to have to do that work. So it's the arrogance, and in some ways it's even more than that. That's why what prompted us to even put this out and talk about the kind of things, to let our brothers and sisters know that what to do and to give them those hints. And standing out there on the street, whether it's in front of, at your house, in your car, or walking them down the street, is really not the place to fight your case, because you're not going to win out there. Mm-hmm. You're just not going to win. Now, it doesn't take away from you the right to ask questions. It doesn't take away the right of you to be upset about what it is that's going on. And I think that you have to do that. But in order for you to survive that situation so that you can fight them later, then you need to do that. And like I said, mentally document, or on a piece of paper, document the information. And 9 times out of 10, when you go to make your complaint, you get you a good lawyer, you're going to win your case.
Mm-hmm. Okay, is our brother back with us? I saw him a moment ago. Is he connected back with us again, Brother Saalakh? If he is, we'd like to hear from him. It doesn't. Okay. Okay, why don't you pick up from where you left off, brother, with your description of what happened that night. We don't have a lot of time, so we want you to be as precise with, subhanAllah, this is the elder. This is not the young brother who had that experience. This is his father. What would you like to share on this, Brother Ali?
I was just listening to you guys, man. I just came in on it not too long ago, so I'm not real familiar at what you was talking about, other than probably the last maybe 5 minutes, you know.
Well, as the father of Umar, who experienced this, thanks be to Allah, this near miss. I mean, he wasn't another statistic, another tragedy that we hear much too often about.
Right.
But given what he went through that night, and it was totally unjustified, and against the backdrop of what we've seen, much too much of this pathology of young black males, and sometimes older black males, dying unjustifiably at the hands of police. In fact, Brother Ron Hampton, he referenced a case out of Minnesota a few years back. In fact, this was 2016, and this was the case of Philando Castile, when he and his girlfriend and their child in the back seat were stopped by police. And he ended up being shot and killed by an officer who overreacted because he had a licensed weapon in his glove department. With that being said, what are your thoughts about what happened to your son?
I mean, hey, look, I'm familiar with all of those cases and many more that has ended up in tragedy. So when I got the call and I seen that video, I know he had just got off work. Me and him, we do security work. You know what I mean? So I told him as soon as he turned 21, man, you're gonna go and you're gonna get your stuff legal, you're gonna get it registered, and you're gonna be able to carry out here. You know what I mean? So I'm the one who made sure, because I thought, I'm thinking that that's the safest way to go for when he operating out here, man. So when I seen that, I'm glad that he carried himself in the manner that he did, because man, truthfully, we had we hot-headed.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And
especially when we're young and we know we didn't do anything wrong.
Exactly. You can kind of react, but that's what they want you to do.
Yeah.
But I think Umar, he's been around a lot of leaders, and he knows about all the things that happen to people. So I think all of that just came in where, he just, he was silent and he reacted in a way how he should have, because it could have went left, like the brother down here in Grand Rapids. I mean, all of these stops, man, end up in death. Mm-hmm. So I don't like that at all. So with this case, we're going to build this thing up, man, and we're going to fight this against the PG County Police Department. We're going all the way with this one, because I'm just thinking, man, hey, he don't even have to be here right now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then I'm not taking that for granted either. He did everything right and they did everything wrong. I mean, you can't just they didn't even tell him anything. They didn't tell him why. You know what I mean? They did what they did. They also kidnapped him, man. You know what I mean? One thing I told
for about an hour, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I taught him to learn the Constitution. Mm-hmm. He knows the Constitution, man. He knows that Article 6 is the highest law of the land. He knows that his Second and Fourth Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the right to be secure in your persons, your houses, your papers and effects against unreasonable. He knows all of that. You know what I mean? So I feel that, Allah is using him. I mean, you gotta think high in this situation right here. And I think that Allah is using that young brother to get something going here, because this stuff got to stop. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And for them doing what they did everything wrong, man. It's like, like they say, Allah plans, and he's the best of planners, man, because for them to just like do everything wrong and then somebody videotape what's going on. We don't even know who that is who videotaped that.
Right. Yeah.
So we're gonna play along with this, man, and try to get as many young brothers involved in this, man, so they can wake up and realize, man, this is no game out here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically. So we got a press conference coming up this Thursday at PG County Police Headquarters at 12 o'clock.
Okay, send me the details and I will do my best to be there, inshallah.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Good. We got Malik Shabazz, he's the attorney. Okay. So, I'll send you everything. Okay, brother. Good being with you. Now, we are at the end of this broadcast. I want to bring
our brother Ron back on and for a closing comment. But before I do, I just want to say that, subhanAllah, brother, when I first heard about what happened to the brother, and of course I was relieved that it ended the way it did. I mean, they held him for about an hour, and they were very provocative with him,
Right.
both in action and in speech. And I was, relieved that he, as his father just noted, maintained his composure and didn't overreact, giving them the ability to do what no doubt one or more of them within that gang, and that's how they behave sometimes, like a gang, wanted to do. I thought about Terrence Johnson, Brother Ron. I thought about Archie Elliott III, also both of these cases out of Prince George's County, Maryland. I thought about the young black businessman. I think he was just 31 years of age out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, back in the day, Johnny Gamage. I thought about all of this, man, when I saw the video that one of the brothers sent me. And so, what I'd like, we're gonna continue this conversation, inshallah ta'ala. We had an abbreviated broadcast today because of the month of Ramadan, and it's, South Africa is 6 hours ahead of us, and so they had special programming for the month that ended. But we're gonna come back to this after Ramadan is over, have another discussion, bring you back, brother. But for now, give us a 1 minute final thought.
Well, first of all, I'd like to salute the father because he absolutely did the right thing. And by talking with his son about being the person that he is and educating himself about the Constitution and all of that, gave him the foundation and the pause to understand what was happening and to not do anything foolish. That's what's important, because in order for you to win, you got to be there. You got to finish it. You got to survive it. The other part of it is I hope if you would pass the information on to me, I would try to make it on Thursday at noon for the press conference. And that's important, that you don't just get $10 million, but you also get some policy change to prevent them from doing it to the next brother or sister that is stopped by the police at one of them traffic stops.
Absolutely. And I will make sure that when I receive the information for Thursday's press conference, I will pass it on to you, brother, and make sure that you have it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. I want to end our broadcast. Again, we are just past the second complete week of the month of Ramadan. Time is going fast, and as I noted before, we pray to Allah Ta'ala that those of us who are truly committed to this deen called Islam will come out of this month stronger in all respects, mentally, physically, and most importantly, spiritually, than we were when we began this blessed month of struggle, internal jihad fi sabilillah. And with that, we conclude with, as we normally do, with the Surah Al-Asr. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal Asr. Innal insana lafi kusr. Illa alladhina amanu wa amalu salihati. Wa tawassaw bil haqq wa tawassaw bis sabr. Which means, in translation of the meaning, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, by the token of time through the ages, surely humanity is in loss, except those who believe and do good, and exhort one another to truth, and exhort one another to patiently persevere in the pursuit and the maintenance of that truth. Assalamu alaikum.